Open up your Bibles. Oh yeah, forgot that part. Open up your Bibles to James chapter 5. James chapter 5 and a message entitled, Don't Be Like Them. Whoever they are. It would seem at times like life is all about money. And for some of you, you may remember the movie Cabaret with Liza Minnelli, who sang, money makes the world go round. And it sure seems like that's true, whether it's us just trying to pay our bills to keep a roof over our heads here, or whether it's how politics works in Washington, D.C., it's money everywhere. And the unfortunate part is we need it. And you know, you gotta pay rent or your mortgage, and you gotta buy food, and you gotta go to In-N-Out regularly, and there's just things that are just fundamental to life that you have to have money for, although certainly with In-N-Out it's not very much money. It is still the bargain in town. But it was reported in the news recently, I don't know if you guys saw this, I was reading this on a news report online, showed up multiple places, that if you live here in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and if you make $117,000 a year, you are considered low income. And all that means is that for me and some of you, we are poverty stricken. You know, $117,000 just sounds like a lot of money, and it is. Everywhere except here. So, you know, you're low income. So it seems like every day we're working our brains out. Technically, I guess you could say I've got 2 jobs, Deb's got 2 jobs too. And a lot of people here have 2 jobs just to get enough income coming in so that we can just try to make enough to keep our heads above water. But our need for money can drive us sometimes to perhaps consider things that maybe we haven't considered before as a means of bringing income in or making more at our current job. And the need for money can alter our thinking about it. Have you ever been desperate for money? The bill is coming, you know it's coming, and you've got too much month at the end of your money. And things are feeling a little desperate. Have you ever been desperate about it? So we're going to revisit this morning the Christian and their money. James chapter 5, starting in verse 1. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You heaped up treasure in the last days. Indeed, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out, and the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. You have lived on the earth in pleasure and luxury. You have fattened your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned, you have murdered the just, and he does not resist you. Therefore, be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Now, we had looked at Christian and our attitude towards money back in chapter 1, verses 9 for 11. Messages online, or you can get a CD if you like. And we're able to draw some conclusions about a Christian and their money. One was that the one who has little, but has a good heart attitude towards the Lord, is far better off than one who is wealthy and has a bad heart attitude towards the Lord. Further, this is not about whether you have money, it's about whether money has you. And perhaps, and I thought most importantly, that your financial situation is not a measurement of God's blessings in your life. If you have a little, it's not because God's not blessing you. If you have a lot, it's not because He is blessing you. So it's important to not see our financial status as a measurement of God's blessings in our life. Now, understanding all of that, what if I have been successful? What if I have acquired great? In my case, that really is a what if, because it's never happened. But you know, what if? I mean, I've known people that have a lot of money, at least to me, and I think there's people in this church that have a lot of money. They've certainly got more than I do, more than a lot of us. Well, what if? What if we are wealthy? What if we are motivated to be financially well off and we're working hard and we want to achieve and we want to grow? What about that? What means are open to a Christian to succeed financially? Is that necessarily a bad thing? If you're rich, if I've got money, should I weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon me? I know people that have money that do weep and howl because it's a lot of work having a lot of money. And I've never had to work at that, but some of you might. So first of all, let's take a look at what not to do. What not to do. This is point number 1, the title of the message, Don't Be Like Them. That's verses 1 to 6. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. Now, the vitriol, you can almost hear the growl in James's voice as he says this, because this is not, he's not being gentle to a certain group or class of people when he says this. Weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. Wow, James, dude, it's like, wow. Don't hold back. Tell us what you really think. Now, James is not very happy with certain people, and here it is, how they acquired their wealth. That seems to be the issue here. Not whether they have it. Again, the problem is not whether they have wealth or not, is how they acquired it. Note here in verse 4, fraud. They held back wages from workers. Then condemned also, where they condemned others. That means to pronounce a final sentence of judgment or condemnation upon somebody else. So they've condemned others. They've murdered, that is to kill unjustly or to sacrifice. And now we look at these terms and we can say, well, clearly that is not me. That is not me. I've never done any of those things. And I've even been a business owner twice. I've been a business owner. And I didn't ever hold back wages from anybody by fraud. I never condemned anybody. I never murdered any, that I know of. I never murdered anybody. Felt like it a time or two. But I never actually killed anybody. I can remember back then people say, do you have kids? I'd say, no, I have employees. Which is much the same thing. Except you can't spank your employees. Now, we do our best as Christians. If you've been born again by the Spirit this morning, even if you're not a Christian this morning, hopefully you're a person that seems to have some sort of morality and you don't want to condemn anybody else. If you're not a Christian here this morning, if you've never surrendered your life to Christ, enjoyed the forgiveness of your sins, reconciliation with the God that made you, then I pray that you will before the end of the service today, because you're not here by mistake. You're here because the Lord brought you here. And you can say, no, I drove myself here. No, I think the Lord brought you here for a reason. And if you don't know Him, the reason is so that you would by the end of the service today. So listen along, stick with me here. So we do our best not to condemn others, and hopefully we haven't killed anybody, but we run into trouble when we look at Matthew chapter 5. That's where I'm going to go. Matthew chapter 5. Go ahead. You can turn that. It's okay. It's all right. Come on. Matthew chapter 5. Now Jesus kind of pokes a little bit of a hole in our self-righteousness here a bit. because we say, okay, well, I've never murdered anybody that I know of. I try not to condemn anybody. I've never defrauded anybody that I know of. There's a few years back in the past where I don't have a lot of memories, but I don't think that I have. And then Jesus says this, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 21, he says, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder. Okay, that's one of the 10 Commandments. You shall not murder. We've got that. And hopefully all of us in this room can say, I've never murdered anyone. And Jesus goes on, and whoever murders shall be in danger of the judgment. We know that. We know that. But I say to you, Jesus says in verse 22, but I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. Whoever says to his brother Raka, which means you fool, is in danger of hellfire. Wait a second. He goes on to say in verses 27 and 28, you've heard it said that you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery in his heart. Look, here's the point. We may not have robbed anybody or committed fraud or condemned anybody or murdered anybody. But I wonder, in our desire, in our striving to achieve or to gain financially, to gain monetarily, what are we willing to do to get it? Right? What are we willing to do to get it? Especially when you can see it out there. It's right out there. And you seem to be in a situation where if I just do these things, I can get it. What are we willing to do to get it? We can easily say, well, I would never do that, of course. I would never do that. I would never defraud anybody or condemn anybody or murder anybody, or I would never do anything like that to get what I want. But I wonder though, if we listen to the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 5, I wonder, have we ever taken advantage of someone else in order to advance ourselves? Have we ever thrown somebody else under the bus if I thought that it would advance my career? Or if I thought, well, if I play this right, if I play these two off of each other, then I can skirt that whole problem and I can come out looking good on the other side of it. I'm just saying. Maybe I didn't pay somebody what I could have or should have paid them, and I took advantage of that fact to get something out of them for a lot less money than what I could have. Have I taken advantage of somebody like that? Now, have I ever advanced myself by saying something bad about somebody else? Well, you don't want to promote this guy because I don't know if it's true. I just heard, just saying, just for your information, not gossiping, just letting you know, what I heard, that my brother, who knows this guy's ex-sister-in-law's husband, that lives out in Bakersfield, told me that last time he was in Bakersfield, he drank a beer. Is that the kind of person that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, are we really playing these kind of games to try to get ourselves ahead of somebody else? Have I used my position or my financial status to harm somebody or to hurt somebody because it served my purposes? I don't care if they stumble and fall. I don't care if they get wrecked. It doesn't matter to me because I'm advancing my purpose. It's their own fault. They shouldn't have gotten in front of the Mack truck that was coming their way, See, now things are a bit more problematic because it's my attitude that leads to my actions. And if that's really going to be my attitude about how I get ahead, what are my actions going to be? Now, here's a bigger problem. Look at verse 4. The cries of the reapers, the ones that you defrauded by not paying them, have reached the ears of the Lord of the Sabbath. Now, you notice that it's spelled differently than Sabbath. Sabbath is S-A-B-B-A-T-H, right? But this is S-A-B-A-O-T-H. Now, this is not to be confused with God being the Lord of the Sabbath or Jesus being the Lord of the Sabbath. In places like Mark 2:28 or Luke chapter 6 verse 5. Instead, it is a translation of an idea behind the term Lord of Hosts. Lord of Hosts. You can compare that in Romans chapter 9 verse 29 or Isaiah chapter 1 verse 9. And Lord of the Sabbath or Lord of Hosts means the Lord of armies, especially in the sense of heavenly and angelic armies. So what you're doing when you're ripping off somebody else is you're making the God of armies mad at you. Now he is the defender of the victim. So the one that you victimized just got the Lord of the armies on his side. Now really, is that where you want to be? You want to have the Lord of armies arrayed against you for victimizing somebody else in your desire to get rich at their expense. Okay, don't be like them. Okay, point number 2, verses 7 and 8. When I am the victim. When I am the victim. Therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. I'm going to come back to verses 7 and 8 another time, but I wanted to touch on it here. How do I respond when I'm the one that's been taken advantage of? Now, if you talk to my wife about this, I get after her sometimes and tell her when things are going weird at work, I tell her, document. Document. Document what happens at work. Because one of the great blessings that we have of living in the United States of America is we live in a country where we have laws that govern labor practices. Now, some of you may be union members or you've been union members, and you know that that's what the union is for. It's there to protect the worker and to be able to negotiate contracts and things like that. If you're not a union worker, then when things go weird at work, document. Because we've got laws against those things. And nobody should ever be defrauded or taken advantage of at work. And if you have a legal claim, I say file it. I've got no problem at all with filing a legal claim against somebody that's intentionally and willfully ripping off somebody else. I just don't like that. Besides, I got the Lord of the armies on my side for that one. Now, the Apostle Paul, interestingly enough, because I've had people come up and ask me this. They say, well, should I file a claim? Should I file? Is it okay for a Christian to file for unemployment? Is it a Christian to file a complaint against an employer at work for how they've ripped me off or abused me or something? Is it okay for a Christian to do that? I'm like, heck yeah, absolutely. The Apostle Paul in Acts chapter 22, verses 22 to 28, used Roman law to his advantage to keep himself from getting another beating. And he could have, but he said, wait a second, you can't beat a Roman citizen without a trial. And those that captured him said, oh, you're a Roman citizen. And they set him free immediately because he had not had due process. So the Apostle Paul was okay with taking advantage of the law when it suited him to not get a beating. So I can't see anything wrong with filing a claim if necessary. But the Apostle Paul also gives us a different perspective over in 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Now this is interesting because in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, one of the problems that the church in Corinth was having is they had people in the church that were suing each other, Christians, suing each other, and going to court, open court, in front of people that were not believers, and suing each other, Christians suing other Christians. And the Apostle Paul gives a different perspective, and he says that it's a shame for them. Isn't there somebody in the church that could mediate the disagreement for you? Do you have to go to court? Do you have to sue each other? And he calls that an utter failure. But he goes on to say, and I think this is kind of interesting, down in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 7, he says, why do you not rather accept wrong? Why do you not rather let yourselves be cheated? Now, that's an interesting concept because I don't want to accept wrong and I don't want to be cheated. That just rubs me the wrong way. But Paul's argument is that, first of all, if there's a disagreement between Christians, they should be able to settle it without going to court. First and foremost. That's the way it should be. Even to the extent of simply accepting being wronged for the sake of your testimony. Okay, you know what? Let's just forget it. You know what? If the money is that important to you, keep it. Be blessed and may it rot your flesh in the day of judgment, okay? Just take it, it's yours, it's just not that important. And for us, a lot of times, especially for me, I get upset over really small, simple, and oftentimes stupid things. And sometimes we need to be a little bit more casual about that. We need to say, look, it just isn't that important. And if it's important to you, just take it, you can have it. And that's even why it says in places like Matthew chapter 5, verse 38 to 40, if somebody, asks you for a jacket, give them your cloak too. If somebody asks you to walk a mile, go with them an extra mile. It just isn't that important. Usually what stops us from doing those things is we're stupid, we're selfish, we're self-centered. And sometimes it's just not important, and sometimes it's a greater testimony just to go ahead and just let them have it. Now, there may be times where it is better to suffer a wrong, to let the other person win, so to speak, if it's that important. And why? Because your defender is the Lord. Your defender is the Lord. Therefore, be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. Because God's going to judge that situation. God's going to judge them. And like I said, true for me, I don't know about you, oftentimes the things that get me the most upset are just simple and stupid little things that I could otherwise just let go and say, forget it, it's not that important. I can't help in that context to think about Jesus and about what he gave and about what he suffered. And when I think about the beating that he took, the mockery, the crown of thorns, the nailing to the cross, the scourging, all of that, and I think about what he suffered, not even to mention taking upon himself the sin of the world, my sin and your sin. And I think, okay, so I had a bad day. Did anybody try to crucify me today? John Lennon sang in the Ballad of John and Yoko years ago, Christ, it ain't easy, they're trying to crucify me. And I thought, oh, John, nobody's trying to crucify you. You get a little bad press and you think that's crucifixion. Has anybody tried to scourge you today? Has anybody put a crown of thorns on your head? Well, it felt like it was anyway. My head hurt at the end of the day. Right? Next time we're suffering, let's just kind of keep things in context just a little bit. See, I can still have peace, even if I get taken advantage of. I can still have peace, knowing that God is my defender, and whoever defrauded me has to deal with him. Sometimes I can't do anything about the fraud. I can't do anything about the fact that I've been taken advantage of. I don't have to. I got the Lord of the armies on my side, and they have to deal with him. Okay, so, point number 3, how I obtain money. Now, I'm going to look over at Ephesians chapter 4 here real quick. Ephesians chapter 4 in verse, 28. Ephesians 4:28. God's word says this: let him who stole steal no longer. Rather, let him labor, working with his hands, what is good, that he may have something to give to him who has need. So if you've been stealing, stop it. It's not only against the law of this country, but it's a sin against God. Stop it. Instead, work. Get a job, do some work. Why? So that you've got a job so that you can share something with other people. Now, that's the purpose of work right there in Ephesians 4:28. Also in 1 Thessalonians 4:11, working is a good testimony to unbelievers. Not just having a job, but how we work. What's your attitude at your work? How do you perform your job? My thinking is that wherever it is that you work, if you're a Christian, you should be the best one there. Now, whatever it is that you do. If you're stamping widgets, you should be the best widget stamper in the entire factory. Nobody stamps widgets like you do. And that should be your attitude in your work. If you go to school, whatever school you go to, you want to be the best student that you possibly can. You want to study, you want to do good, but you also want to set an example in your actions and in your behavior toward your fellow classmates and your teachers. Whatever it is that you're doing, you want to be the best that you can be at it. Now, believers are instructed to work. If you're a Christian, you should work. Now, this does not take into consideration things like retirement which I'll never enjoy, or forced unemployment, or disability. Maybe they shut down the widget factory and you're out of a job, and there is not another widget factory in town. You got to get retrained before you can get a job at the tire factory. Sometimes you're forced into an unemployed situation. It's not your fault. Maybe you've got a disability that prevents you from being able to work, or a variety of other causes that will stop you from working. But when we work, it is crucial for Christians to understand that God does not like dishonesty of any kind. God does not like dishonesty. Proverbs chapter 20 verse 10, amongst many proverbs, Proverbs chapter 20 verse 10 says, differing weights and measures, the Lord detests them both. You don't have one set of measures for Louis and another set of measures for Deb. Everybody gets measured the same, right? We're fair and we're honest. That's what we do. So you work hard, you have goals, you wish to succeed, and I say go ahead, work hard, succeed, achieve, but whatever you do it with integrity, do it with honesty, and as Colossians chapter 3, 23 and 24 says, do it as unto the Lord. Lord, I'm doing what I do, the way that I do it, for you and because of you, and so that others will see you in me. Now take that to work tomorrow morning and see how it goes. Because I cannot help but think a lot of times what we do is we leave Jesus at the breakfast table with our morning devotions, and then we pick him up at the end of the day when we come home for dinner. And it's like, where was he all day long? I went off to work, Jesus. Thank you for waiting here for me. Well, wait a second. He's the Lord of whatever it is that you do for a living. He's the Lord of widget stampers. He's the Lord of real estate. He's the Lord of haircutting. He's the Lord of cooking. He's the Lord of digging ditches. He's the Lord of scrubbing toilets. He's the Lord of being CEOs of corporations. He's the Lord of everything. Take him to work with you. But let that as unto the Lord govern what you do and how you do it. Because you might say, well, look, I can do this, but I can't do it as unto the Lord. Right? This would work. This would work. And I could score if I did it like this. Right? I just don't think Jesus would be happy if I did it this way. Well, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Okay, let's just go do it. No. Let him govern what we do and how we do it. In other words, don't be like the people of verses 1 to 6, because all you've done is store up judgment for yourself. And who needs more of that? How we obtain money is important, but perhaps not as important as why. Point number 4. It's on the Jumbotron, that's on your handout. Why I obtain money. Now, I wanted to fit this in here. Just wedge this in here. Use my widget to wedge this in here. I wanted to fit it in here simply because I think we have things backwards. Now, this is just me, again, but I think we have this backwards. In Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 to 34, Jesus says things like, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on it. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? Yes, very, very easy to say yes to all of that, except we don't always live that way. I don't worry about what I'm going to eat. I know what I'm going to eat. It's Happy Taco. So I don't have to worry about that at all. And Jesus said, look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap or gather into barns, yet the Heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of much more value than they? Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? Now, down in verse 33, Jesus kind of closes things out by saying, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Here's the thing. See if this makes sense to you. God has promised to supply my daily needs when I seek him first. So I think sometimes what we've done is we've built lifestyles for ourselves that require us to work far more than we really need to just to support the life that we desire. So what I'm doing is I'm working my brains out to try to support my chosen lifestyle, when Jesus said that if I seek Him first, He'll meet all of those needs for me. Then I don't have to worry about working to meet all of those needs. I can just work so that I've got something to share. Now again, have we forgotten His provision if we seek Him first? Now look, I'm not saying quit work. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is I think that we built and constructed for ourselves lifestyles that require an enormous amount of money to keep up those lifestyles. And the reality is we could probably live on a lot less than what we do. We were just talking about that just a little bit earlier. We can live on a lot less, and a lot of times it's a lot easier to live on less than it is to live on more. I've had a lot less, I've had a lot more, and less for me is always easy. But I wonder, does God get the first of your time? Does He get the first of your energy? Does He get the first of your efforts? Does He get your attention? Does He get your affection? Does He get your submission first? First? And then you don't have to worry about your daily needs because He's going to meet them? Okay, I got two more things here. One is that work, I think, is God's reminder that we live in a fallen world. I mean, that's what He says in Genesis chapter 3, 17 to 19. We live in a fallen world, you got to work. But I got two other reasons here, and I've already touched on them already. We work so that we can live in this world. You have to earn money. That's Matthew chapter 22, 16 to 22, where Jesus sets the standard for our relationship with the world around us. If you render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, you render unto God what is God's. And what is Caesar's is, I got to make money to pay taxes, pay rent, pay for food, pay for utilities, pay for insurance. I have to do that, and God knows that. So don't worry about that. You also have passages like Romans chapter 13, verses 1 to 7, where we pay taxes so the government can do all the things that the government does. Some of them we like, and some of them we don't like, but that's what that's for. So seeking God first and working with honesty and integrity as unto the Lord is a recipe for success, as God defines it. And God defines what success is. Secondly, for letter B, we work, and this is important. We work so that we can do ministry. That's why we work. Somebody says to me, well, why do you work outside of the church? I work so that I can do ministry. Again, Ephesians 4:28, remember what it says? Let him who stole steal no longer, but rather let him labor working with his hands. Why? Why? That he may have something to give to him who has need. We make money so that we can share. We make money so we can do ministry. It's the same thing in Acts chapter 2, verses 44 to 45, where the first century church, they shared with each other so that everybody had what they needed. That's very, very important. Now, this was practiced by the Apostle Paul during his missionary journeys, both in Acts 20, 32 to 35, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 8. Paul said, I worked when I was among you so I wouldn't be a burden to you. I work outside of the church so I don't have to bleed this church dry, keeping me afloat. That's why I have my job. Plus, I like my job. And it keeps me in touch with the great unwashed masses every single day. So I work. They're unwashed, and then I wash them. And then they're washed. So I'm working, and I'm earning money so that I can do ministry. So that I can go to church. So that I can serve here. So that I can go on a missionary trip to Peru. So that I can invest money in helping this church grow and possibly move into a new building, or have things here like jumbotrons, or all the things that we need for the kids and the kids ministry, or the delicious donuts that we serve here every single Sunday morning. I work so that we can do ministry. So let me close out with one last thought, my last point. So many people new to this church just don't understand. It's like, why are they saying amen?
For sure they
That's not right. No, they're just glad that it's almost over. Yeah, you got to take off your shoes, get out your sack lunch, We're here for another hour. Point number 5, and this is important, friends, coming back to virtually everything I've said so far, and that is how my financial goals affect others. Now, clearly, we don't want to be the people of verses 1 to 6, right? We're not those people. We don't want to be those people. Money earned dishonestly is described here as corrupted, moth-eaten, and corroded. It serves only to eat our flesh like fire and store up for ourselves judgment in the last day. But it's not just our attitude toward money. It's how our desire to acquire affects those around us. Now, take another look at 1 Timothy chapter 6. I've been there multiple times in discussing this topic. 1 Timothy chapter 6, and, well, really especially verses 9 and 10. Those who desire to be rich, those who desire, I want to be rich. I need to be rich. I'd be a good rich person. I need to be rich. I could do more ministry if I was rich. And I would, Lord, you know it. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation. Yeah, I need more of that in my life, right? I need more temptation in my life. And a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts which drown men in destruction and perdition. Well, that is not someplace I want to go. For the love of money, not money itself, money is an inanimate object. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. I wonder, in our headlong pursuit of financial gain, what have I sacrificed along the way to achieve? What have I sacrificed along the way? Have I sacrificed my relationship with the Lord? Well, Lord, you know, I would be at church more often if I didn't have to work. Sounds to me like you need a different job. Some of you guys have heard me say this. Well, you know, we have trouble getting, you know, to midweek service because of work. And I'm like, okay, quit. That's my answer to everything work-related. You know, just quit. Have I sacrificed my relationship? No time for Jesus. I got to go to work. Do I skip church, Bible study, devotional time, prayer, fellowship, or even sharing my faith with others because I'm too busy working to support my chosen lifestyle? Is that it? Have I sacrificed my family for gain? Sorry, honey. Sorry, kids. No time for you. I've got to go earn money to support the lifestyle that I've chosen for you. I'm bringing home the bacon. Doesn't that say I love you? Isn't that enough? I've heard people say stuff like that. Seriously. I don't have to say that I love you. I go to work every single day. Bring me another root beer. That I paid for. I mean, there's people like that out there. Hopefully not any of you. Look, that time that we sacrifice, where we sacrifice our family, where we sacrifice our relationship with the Lord, sacrifice time with our spouse, sacrifice time with our kids, sacrifice time with our parents. You don't get that time back. That's it. You've lost that time. And boy, the older I get, the more I see how vitally important time is. Keep the money. You can have the money. I'd rather have the time. Just me. I wonder how much happier some of our families would be if we spent less time earning, living a bit lower down the socioeconomic scale, and having more time with my family and more time to do ministry. Wonder how much happier we would all be if we did. I wonder how much more God would provide if we got our priorities turned back around the right direction. Most of us work hard every day, and we ought to if we are able. We do it to keep our heads above water, you know, the cost of living around here. But do we see money as the answer to all of our problems? If I just had money, that would solve all of my problems. Do we think that if we had more, we'd be better off? If we do, then that attitude, if I just had more, I'll be better off, that attitude will affect how we go about obtaining it, and what we're willing to do to get it. If money is the answer, you might stop at nothing to get it. But in seeking God first, above all things, first in my day, first with my strength, first with my energy, first with my time, first in everything, first in my work when I go to work, first in everything, there is great reward that is waiting to be reaped when we get our heads straight on what it means to earn. And more importantly, greater contentment, and I believe even usefulness in God's kingdom. To pray. Lord Jesus, you know the world that we live in. You know the necessity of money. You know the struggles and the battles that we face concerning money. You know how so many times in our lives, Lord, it really does seem like more money would fix everything. Lord, you know the stress that the lack of it causes. But Lord, I pray that we would align ourselves with you and with what you said in your word about it. Lord, that above and beyond anything and everything else, we would seek you first.
Yes.
Lord, help us to remember to put our spouses and our families first. And to, even if necessary, adjust our lifestyle so we've got the necessary time and energy to minister to our families and to minister to you, Lord. Help us to have our heads straight on this. Lord, I pray for anybody here that's looking for work. You know, also that's can be a tough marketplace here. I pray, Lord, that you would supply work for anybody here that needs it. Lord, if there's anybody here that needs a better job than what they have, I pray that you would lead them to that. Lord, if there's anybody here that is unable to work, whatever the reason, I pray that you'd supply all of their needs. And most importantly, Lord, for those of us that can work, I pray that whatever we do, we would do it as unto you. Now we trust, Lord, that you'll supply, according to your riches and glory, all of our daily needs. Now help us adjust our attitudes in proportion to that. We trust that you'll help us with this, Lord, because we're asking in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thanks for watching this week's service. If you'd like to know more about this or other topics, please visit our website at cchnb.org. If you'd like to see us in person sometime, we have Sunday service at 10 a.m., a Tuesday night Bible study at 7 p.m., a Wednesday night Bible study for young adults at 6:30 p.m., and a Thursday night service at 7 p.m.